All right, chapter 19. So they had just sold the bead necklaces and they bought all that stuff. And VG and the boys debated over whether they should save money or not. So, chapter 19, A Silver River. I was savoring the sound of Mutu's snores rising and falling in concert with yours, after telling you our bedtime tale, when I heard Arul sneaking out of his tent. I felt too excited to sleep, so I sneaked out to join him. Arul was sitting by a break in the bridge wall, watching the river. Looks like silver, doesn't it? You could make up a story about a silver river. You could make up stories too, you know, I sat next to him. I'm no good at telling stories, Arul said. My brother was, but not as good as you. What stories did he tell? Stories about Yesu from the Bible. Once Yesu had just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, and he turned it into enough food to feed a whole crowd. Too bad Yesu isn't here now, I said. That's a useful trick. It was a miracle, not a trick. Arul's eyes shone bright as the moonlit river. If you had heard my brother tell that story, you would believe it. Or if you heard my priest tell it, our priest was the best. He ran our village school. He taught us everything, math and reading and writing, as well as songs and prayers. Sounds like my favorite teacher, I said. My whole family loved him. We all loved music too. My brother and sister and mother sang really well. My dad just sang really loud and happy, though always out of tune. Arul laughed. But my dad was the best fisherman in our village. He'd bring home 10 times as much as the other fishermen. He used to call the ocean Karalama, Ocean Mother. That's a nice name, I said. Yes, too nice. What actually happened was that the Ocean Mother took my real mother away, and my sister, and my brother, and my father. One day, the sea receded so far that the fish were hopping on the ground. Recede is it goes back. So the waves went way back into the ocean. Everyone else ran in to the sea laughing to gather up the fish. But I stayed back. I was scared, seeing the ocean act so strangely. And then it rose and came at us like a monstrous cobra, swallowing everything in sight. And I ran. I could hardly take in what he was telling me about how everyone he had loved had disappeared in one terrible moment. So there must have been a tsunami, right? Because at a tsunami, the waves do kind of go back in and then they come in a monstrous wave. So his family and the people of the village ran in to get the fish that were left on the sand, and they didn't know that a giant wave was going to come, and they got crushed by it. I don't know why I ran, Arul whispered. Wouldn't have if I had known they would all be taken. But soon enough, I will meet them again in heaven. He spoke with complete conviction, belief. And I realized that by holding on to his beliefs, he was holding on to his family. He was so sure he would be reunited with them when he died that he didn't care how long he lived. But I cared. I cared about him as strongly as if we had known each other all our lives. I couldn't imagine our future without him and Mutu in it. I searched for the right words to tell him so, but all I finally said was, I hope it'll be years and years before you get to go to your heaven. Yes, I guess I'll have to wait a long time, he sighed. I've always wondered why God left me behind. Then he gave me a crinkly smile. Maybe he knew I needed to make friends with the three of you. Four of us, not three, I corrected. Don't forget Kuti. He's part of the family too. Four, he agreed. I was never good at mathematics. Okay, so for today's response, we just learned a very important story about Arul. I think this is a good time to talk about Arul. What kind of person is he and why? And so I started a response, and I kept the read aloud shorter today because I want you to write a true response today with all of the ingredients. Okay, really push yourself. Two forms of evidence, the this shows, the follow up sentence, all of that. So I started one for you today that could give you an example. Here's what I would write. I believe Arul is the kind of person that could be a great leader because he is calm. For example, when the boy Sridhar tried to start a fight, Arul was able to handle the situation without getting mad. Also, and I'm about to talk about the time he and Viji disagreed about whether they should save the money and how he again didn't get mad. So that's what I want you to do today. What kind of person do you think Arul is? I thought that story about him losing his family was very powerful. And so it'd be a great chance to talk about him today. Okay, thank you and have a beautiful weekend.